and welcome to the Overlook Drive-In. The Overlook Hotel was built over a century ago on an old Native American burial ground. Just recently, we added a beautiful state-of-the-art drive-in screen out back. You don't just get a peaceful, cozy stay at the Overlook, but you get to enjoy one of the finest outdoor cinemas as well. At the Overlook Drive-In, we don't just watch and review major motion picture films. Here, we rank them too. If you need anything at all, please don't hesitate to ask. My name is Zach. We hope you enjoy your stay. Enjoy the show, and if you will, please follow Mr. Grady to room 237. He will take care of you.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is October the 18th, 2022, and a journey has come to an end. David Gordon Green's Halloween trilogy has wrapped, and we're going to discuss our thoughts on Halloween Ends nearly 1 week later. We're also going to dive into the featured topic for tonight's episode, Halloween 2 from 1981. We go inside it. Without further ado, though, my co-host, Mr. Mike Bish. What's going on, man?
What's going on, dude? Good to be here. Glad to be here. Hope everybody had a good weekend. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Sean, man, I'm telling you, man, I'm in just the best of moods. I'm telling you, man. Listen, we got Sixers basketball back tonight. James Harden looking pretty good tonight. Eagles are 6-0. Bryce Harper just hit a home run in the National League Championship. I mean, what else can go wrong, my guy? Now, probably everything because I said that. But anyways, how are you doing, Sean?
Well, let's just take everything that you just said. We'll wrap it all up, throw it away, because I'm the exact opposite right now. So
I thought you were about to say turn that some bitch sideways and stick it straight up your candy ass.
I mean, you can do that too, but no, that's cool, man. I'm glad things are going good for you. How's everybody doing tonight in the chat? We all know how this works. This is week number 3 of the Overlook Drive-In live, and our 6th official episode, and we're doing Halloween 2. So I'm pretty excited to talk about this film, man. And I actually had a chance to watch this film
nice.
in 4K for the first time ever.
It changes a lot, in my opinion, especially when it comes to the cinematography, and we'll obviously touch on that is one of our subjects. But Sean, before you were able to watch it in 4K, how long had it been since you watched Halloween 2?
On the channel would have been the last time, so probably a couple of years ago. So it had been a minute, but here we are, and I'm excited to talk about Halloween 2, man. It's not my favorite Halloween film, but it's far from the worst. Man, so we're going to get to coming attractions, which is really just one topic tonight as Halloween ends. But before we do, I want to just do a little bit of housekeeping and probably annoy people out there. If you're just tuning in to this video, that down there, like, comment, subscribe, helps us out big time. It would be greatly appreciated. If you enjoy the show, it's absolutely free. If you want to dictate where the conversation goes tonight, or you want to interrupt Mike and I's scorecards because you don't like where it's going or whatever, please feel free to send in a super chat, and we will read your super chat regardless of what it is on air. And if you can't super chat, just comment away, and we'll have a little tiny bit of Q&A time when we transition from Halloween Ends to Halloween 2. So be on the lookout for that. And if you want to support the channel on a different level, you can do so over at Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. Why am I bringing this up at the beginning of the show? Because we have new Patreon tiers that are not yet in effect at Patreon, but will be as of tomorrow. And 2 of them greatly involve the show. And the $10 tier now at the channel is called the Overlook Drive-In Gold Room, which will be, most of the time, it'll only be one episode a month. You get other additional content with that. But Mike and I are going to do one episode of the Overlook Drive-In a month exclusively over on Patreon. And the first one that we're going to do sometime in the next 2 weeks or so, maybe 3, is we're going to do Halloween 5. We're going to have Kieran from the channel on, and Mike rolled his eyes already. Mike and I's scores will be kept quite separate from Kieran's. That way we don't diminish the scores. And if you don't want to support us on that level, we'll still let you know what the overall score is, because we're going to start to have a graphic that comes up during these shows that displays what the score of each one of the movies we've done is, so you can keep track along with us, just like you do with the scorecards. But in terms of getting into what we thought about the film and what we scored each specific category, you'll have to head on over to Patreon to do that. But we'll still be doing this weekly, man. I'm really excited about the changes at the channel, and I know a lot of the people have expressed their interest in it already too, man.
Yeah, man, super excited. I think a lot of great things are coming to the channel with the changes that we have, and the shows that are already in effect. I started to listen to House of the Empire. Haven't been able to finish it yet. I thought it was funny. At the beginning, you were like, all right, we're gonna go through the show, keep it right at an hour, and I saw the runtime hour 40. I'm like, it's impossible. You can put a time limit on this stuff, but there's no way that's gonna happen.
Yeah, but realistically, you can skip the last 20 minutes of that episode. Just trust me, or else we start talking about feet and all other weird shit. So,
yeah.
Oh man. Thanks for everybody for joining us tonight. There's 40 strong in the chat right now. You know the rule of thumb with this show, though. By the time we get to Halloween 2, have your scorecards ready, your pen and paper ready, or you could just be like a normal human being in 2022 and do it on your cell phone. Bloody fucking hell.
I thought you were trying to get.
Hey, man.
I thought you were trying to get fancy with it.
Last but not least, if you guys haven't seen yet, and this is a good segue, is we released this video today on the channel. Halloween Ends, Laurie's Other Endings. We specifically get into one, but tease another. And this so happened to be, Mike, the first, it's short version of it, but the first episode of our new Halloween show, Making the Shape, which you'll be able to catch, hopefully, a brand new episode right here every single week on Fandom Empire. These will be pre-produced with videos put together, and most of the time they will coincide with the Overlook Drive-In. So if you watch that video earlier in the day and come back to the Overlook Drive-In at night, we get to talk about some of the content that was in that video. And with that said, Mike, I feel like we should just dive right into it. First up, coming attractions. All right, so in our first video of Making the Shape, I did that one solo just because I wanted to get the news out there pretty quickly as soon as I heard the clip had been officially released. And we discussed one of Laurie's alternate endings. Now, I strongly recommend that you go check the video out. It's doing well. We appreciate the support over there. But specifically, it gets into the moment with the gun, and instead of her tricking Corey, she actually pulls the trigger, Mike, and commits suicide. And now you and I had a personal discussion on this earlier today, how it's a really hard topic to approach because some people are very sensitive to it, rightfully so. But there's other people that don't want to approach it at all because they feel like you might be glorifying it, which is definitely not what we're doing. We're simply reporting what was in the movie at one point, specifically in one of the later versions of the script. And again, this isn't us speculating. This is right out of David Gordon Green's mouth in an interview with Perry Nemiroff. So it was... even I didn't know that one, man. I knew a bunch, but I didn't know that one. And I got to say, it was even hard to hear, but the more I thought about it, I thought, it still fit the story they were telling, which is probably why it was on the table. Your thoughts on it?
No, I definitely think that it fit the story that they were trying to tell. I don't think I would think if that was the route that they would have chose to go. Again, like you said, it would fit the story, so it wouldn't be out in left field. I think it would one be very very unexpected, and taking a step back as far as just as a fan of the franchise and so far these two movies that we've gotten so far, I've at least liked in a sense. So, but when it comes to this third film, having that alternate ending or having that ending being a possibility, I do have to say, Sean, I wouldn't be the biggest fan of that. Only because it would be a hell of a way for Lori to go out. I am definitely one of those people that wanted um, a Lori and Michael showdown. So for her to go out that way, I'm kind of glad that was lifted off the table. To your point, though, it would have fit the story. Definitely would have been a hard watch. It would be very hard to stomach. Whether you're a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis and Laurie Strode's character or not, it would definitely be hard to watch. Obviously, I'm sure they wouldn't show all of that on the screen, but you obviously would know what would happen. And yeah, man, it would be hard to watch overall. And just as far as just looking at overall story wise and what I wanted personally, it's not an ending that I would have been satisfied with.
It wouldn't have been an ending that I would have preferred over any other possible ending. But I got to tell you, man, I don't know. I'm very conflicted even saying this, dude. You and I have similar feelings about the ending of this movie, and I can't sit here and say that I would dislike it more than what they went with. They have beat the fan base over the head for specifically the last 3 years with trauma and their social commentary, which is fine. Hey, you make a movie in 2022, there's bound to be social commentary in there somewhere. And I just think it probably would have served the narrative that they were telling a little bit better. But at the same time, this being her supposed final turnout as Laurie Strode, that would be it. Like, even me, who's not the biggest Laurie Strode fan and not the biggest Jamie Lee Curtis fan, that would have been like a really heartbreaking ending to send the character off on. But then again, maybe fitting for the story they told.
How would you end that movie, though? Michael and Corey going at each other? Like, I mean, would you be? I just would not be satisfied with that. I mean, I don't know, and I think we do have similar feelings when it comes to the ending. Maybe I want to dive into that in a bit, but I don't know, man. It's funny that all of this stuff is actually. I'm surprised it's coming out like now, like as soon as it's coming out. Because David Gordon Green wasn't the only one that talked about another ending. Jamie Lee Curtis talked about another ending as well, and I want to say it was with Collider as well. So, and it was the one where I don't know if you want to jump into it or even talk about it, but it was the one where she had to go away at the end and kind of seclude herself. And she openly admitted she was not happy with that, and that's not the way she wanted to go. So I don't know how true. I didn't listen to the interview, so I don't know if what ending was more pushed to the table than the other. If everything was on the table, I'm not quite sure.
So we're not going to talk about what would have happened after that on this stream. That is something that we are saving for Lampkin Lane. Again, if you want to tune into a future episode of the Lampkin Lane show over on our Patreon, it's our exclusive Halloween Patreon show, we're going to dive further into that topic, and then the next Making Shape topic that we do next week as well on the next Taking Shape, which does have to do with the endings. However, as far as the her going mad ending, yeah, that was an ending.
Your thoughts?
I don't like it as much as another ending that we've heard about, and I mean, I'll be blunt about it. We talked about it on Patreon. That was a while ago now, and they both die in the other ending. but there's some vagueness whether Michael might have survived or not. It's fairly definitive, but there's sort of like a question in Allison's head and possibly some visual evidence to back it up, but you never really are shown that. And yeah, I mean, to be clear, I don't mind talking about it openly now. I know people have been ranting and raving at us, some, in unkind ways about what are these things that happen behind the scenes. Well, one of them was Jamie Lee Curtis came in, and again, subjective, take it with a grain of salt. But Mike's saying he heard it in the Collider interview. I haven't, but we've talked about it for months now at the channel anyway, or at least with the staff. Is she came in and nixed a bunch of things that had to do with the back half of this movie, plain and simple, to a point where it sort of stalled things for a bit. So it's frustrating.
I mean, two of those endings that we know of ultimately ends in her death. One ends up with her being secluded. I'm wondering if I don't know. I'm wondering if she wanted to go out on a happy end. I would assume that's why. I don't know exactly, but I just remember watching that interview, and I think she asked her, what roles did you play? And I mean, she was obviously not as. I mean, she was straight up. I mean, she basically says she changed the ending. Which props to her for being honest about it. I mean, I didn't think her or David Gordon Green would even talk about these endings, at least not right now. You know what I mean?
I'll give her credit because I've been hinting at that's not going to work for me, brother Hulk Hogan line on this channel for about 2 months, but was told up and down, do not outright come out and say it. And just so you know, we're not bullshitting. Have I not been saying this behind the scenes, Mike, for like 2 or 3 months now that basically this exact thing happened? Look, creative differences was a big thing on the set of Halloween Ends, to a point where there's not going to be another Halloween movie from Universal Pictures, and to a point that awkwardly you had Danielle Harris on the red carpet, if you will, for the Chinese theater debut of Halloween Ends, talking about this Jamie Lloyd pitch. Like, of all times to talk about it, it's probably not during the release of this movie when the focus is supposed to be on this movie and you're selling this movie. And I don't know if it was, a shot back at them, but in a recent interview, David Gordon Green comes out and says, I don't know if I'm supposed to be saying anything, but like Malaka Cad's already working on the next thing. So like,
yeah, I heard, I don't want to dive into it, at least not on this show. Maybe we can dive into it for a Patreon show, but, obviously Danielle Harris, and I think her name's is it Scout Compton.
Yeah. Scout.
Yeah. They went to the premiere together, and they just released a podcast, and they were talking. I don't want to dive into it. Maybe it's something, Sean. I know you have
Cliff Notes. Maybe just give us the Cliff Notes without giving us.
They had a bad experience with Jamie Lee Curtis, as far as her dismissing them, in a sense, and they talk about it. They're very emotional about it. So if you want to go out there and listen to it, I'll let you listen to it. Maybe that's something we could jump into on our Patreon show. Granted, it's the red carpet. Everything is like going crazy, but again, there's ways you could have handled that a lot better. But for anybody out there that wants to go listen, I'm sorry I forgot the name of their podcast off the top of my head. But if you go to Danielle Harris's Instagram, it's over there. I think it released today, and they talk about their experience at the premiere, and that experience and encounter with Jamie Lee Curtis.
Yeah, I can totally, like, if people who have been watching or listening to this channel for a long time probably have an understanding that, hey, these guys more often than not are right. Not all the time, but more often than not, we're right when it comes to Halloween and shit going on behind the scenes. With that said, I want to own up and take some accountability for something before we get any further into this. I said Malaka Cad was not at the Chinese premiere. I was wrong about that. Malaka Cad was not at the Screamfest premiere. However, other than the speech given by Jason Blum, and I believe Malaka Cad's by him, and Bill Block, he did almost no media. And the reports coming out of there is he didn't seem in a very good mood. and it lines up with everything, the shit show that this production became. And I can't sit here and say that Jamie Lee Curtis and Danielle Harris and like, with all due respect to Scout Taylor Compton, like, I think people know Danielle Harris way better than her. That said, you showed up at her red carpet and you openly talked about a current pitch that's going on for another Halloween. It's not theoretical, people. It's actual discussions that are happening on some form or another about the continuation of Jamie Lloyd's story. That does not mean it's a theatrical release. Might be a streaming release. Might not even be a movie. Might be a limited series. Nobody knows. Might not ever happen.
So would you say, no, I was just going to say, do you think that may be a reason why the snapness from Jamie, or you just throwing that out there, period?
Well, I'm assuming, like, if she would have caught wind of it that night, I wouldn't be surprised if they're a little pissy about it, you know?
Basically, Danielle Harris introduced herself and said that, hey, I played your daughter in Halloween 4, and then Jamie kind of cut her off and was like, I don't really watch those movies. I'm not a big horror fan. And it just kind of caught her off by surprise. She's like, I don't really know who you are. And, you know, so I guess that was Danielle Harris's first time meeting her, and it wasn't a good experience. So, you know, I see people in the chat. I'm a big Jamie Lee Curtis fan. Sean knows that. I met Jamie Lee Curtis. She was very, very nice to me. But again, if you never know what everybody knows behind the scenes, maybe Jamie knows that or her. I mean, you just never know. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she was having a bad night, or maybe she was just being fucking rude. Like, who knows? I'm just saying, like, I've had an encounter with Jamie, and I've had encounters with very rude celebrities, especially football players. So I can tell you that she's very nice to the fans, at least. But that's all I'll say on that. But if I just wanted to throw that out there, if anybody who hadn't heard the podcast, I don't listen to it on a regular basis, but it's kind of floating around today, so I wanted to share that.
Is the whole episode based on that event?
No, it's based on their review of Halloween, the movie, and then the last 15 minutes they talk about going to the premiere and their experience. So if you want to skip their review on Halloween Ends, I would listen to like the last 10-15 minutes.
Yeah, I'll have to check that out. I now have something to listen to while at work tomorrow.
Just don't talk.
Things are.
It's just so funny because, like, me and Sean send voice messages back because it's just the easiest way to talk throughout the day because we're both so busy. And I guess, Sean, you bought some new headphones, and every message he starts out with, he's like, "Don't mind me yelling as he's got him headphones."
Fucking terrible. Fuck you, Walmart. This video is probably brought to you by Walmart. No, I'm kidding. Look, it's the wrong time to talk about a new Halloween project while you're closing out that one. It just is. And I'm someone who, we'll get into what we thought about the movie here in a second, but, you know, I'm not as turned off by this movie as some, but I'm certainly not for the movie either. You know, it seems like everyone either hates it or people are loving it, and you get people going and maybe exaggerating things on the hate side, and I've definitely seen people exaggerating things on the love side and taking the runtime and twisting it, and then people trying to say that this whole trilogy was just about Haddonfield. No, that's not true. I'm sorry, but I fall somewhere in the middle. Like, I know that's like the minority at this point, but I fall somewhere in the middle. And that's not me trying to be like, oh, I'm afraid to offend anybody. I fucking hate the end of this movie. I'm not going to hide it. If you guys loved it, fantastic. Thrilled for you. Hated it. Couldn't stand what they did to Michael Myers. And like, just hearing this stuff come out publicly now had a feeling it was going to happen. Was told to be patient about it. Those of you that have watched Lambkin Lane for the last few months have definitely heard me hint at it a little more than we have publicly here on YouTube. And the whole thing's a mess, Mike. Like, at the end of the day, regardless of what happens next, the whole thing is a bloody fucking mess. And it's unfortunate. And then again, like, you have David Gordon Green going of his way to be like, yeah, my cat's already working on the other thing. You know, he's already thinking about it and talking about it. It's like, okay, well, now you're just doing what Danielle Harris and company did. And it's like,
yeah,
it's not the right time for that. And like, well, the movie underperformed in the North America box office by a decent bit from projections, it also did way better overseas than they had originally projected. So, like, again, a bit of a mixed bag.
Not a lot in the box office either. So, good weekend for them to come out. I'll tell you that. So, are we sticking on Halloween Ends anymore, or are we talking about anything? Or
What? How do you feel about the movie now, man? You've had some time to let it sink in. I've still only seen it once. I'm gonna see it a second time soon. How do you feel?
So I watched it. I watched it twice. And my feelings have not changed too much. You know, I am more. I'll start off by saying I'm in the negative side of how I feel about this movie, and I'll kind of talk about why. First off, my theater experience was absolutely phenomenal. So really, really thankful for that. I started off watching this movie, really enjoying it, really enjoying the story, really enjoying the character of Corey. And then about God, I don't even know how long into the movie, 50 minutes or 30 minutes. Well, I don't even 50 minutes, I would say. The first time we saw Michael, I'm like, oh yeah, this is a Halloween movie. Like the moments that I really didn't enjoy in this movie were when Michael Myers was on screen, and that's not how I should feel about a Halloween Michael Myers movie. And this is a Halloween Michael Myers movie. That's the way that they marketed this thing, right? They marketed this thing as this big final showdown between Michael and Laurie, and we didn't get that. We got a 2-minute battle at the end of the movie that I felt like was terrible, in my opinion. The fight scenes, look, I enjoyed the fight scenes. They were good. The choreography was good. Whoever the stunt double was, whether it was James Courtney or somebody else. I know Aaron Armstrong came back for this movie as well for James's stunt double. So whoever it was working with Jamie, like really, really good choreography. It just sucks that I felt like, Sean, they got into this movie telling Corey's story, which was a good story. Don't get me wrong. And they're like, oh shit, we got to bring Michael in. Like we're like 80 pages into the script. We got to bring Michael in. We got to write Michael in. Like, I don't know. I'm just not the biggest fan of it. I'm not a big fan of seeing Michael as weak as he was and very vulnerable. I don't like the fact that a scrawny little kid can walk in the sewer and overpower Michael and take his mask like a little punk. I don't like seeing Michael get punked like that. So yeah, I mean, I don't like what they did with Michael. And this just was not a Halloween movie for me. I mean, it just wasn't. Now, is it the worst movie ever? Is it the worst movie in the Halloween franchise ranking? Or
Confirmed. No, I'm kidding.
It's not. Like I'm not going to read off my rankings, but I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 movies worse than this movie. So it's not the worst for me, but there's 1 or 2 movies that I think aren't as good as this movie. Like this movie has no rewatch value for me. When am I ever going to rewatch this movie? Like, I was thinking about that the other day. Like, it's not a terrible movie. It's a bad Halloween. Like, when am I going to sit in and, like, when I sit here and say, man, I want to watch a good, scary movie? One, this movie was not scary. I don't care what anybody says. It had good kills in it. I'll give it that. I like Rohan Campbell, who played Corey. I thought he did phenomenal for what his character was written into. Again, I enjoyed his story. I enjoyed seeing Laurie go back kind of to that 1978 girl that we haven't seen since then. It was good to see her in that mind frame, and I don't know, man. It's hard to put into words still after a second watch. I was hoping to like it a little more. And again, it's just like, so for 18 is the best one in my opinion. 18, I felt like they wrote a pretty solid story and a good Michael Myers. Like James Courtney was phenomenal in that. In Kills, they wrote a terrible story with terrible dialogue, and Michael Myers was fucking awesome. It was just a movie about him going around killing people. And in this movie, they wrote a solid drama story and just kind of shit the bed on Michael. And I just don't like the way they treated Michael in this movie. I don't hate the ending as much as Sean hates the ending. I hate the funeral procession. Like, That is
Well,
very corny.
I include that in there. Like,
Okay,
the
that's just super corny to me.
well, I hate to say it, Mike. You got your girl to blame for that one.
I don't mind the fact that they put him in a disintegrator though. I actually personally like that.
Yeah, I mean, well, here it's funny because you have I believe, a little bit of history with Perry Namiroff. She asks David Gordon Green. Sorry, she says to David Gordon Green, I can't believe you guys definitively killed off Michael Myers," and his response is, "Did we?"
I saw that.
And she's like, "Well, what was the line? Evil just changes shape." And his
Yeah.
response was, "Well, I'm glad that you caught that." And
Yep.
then they just sort of move on to something else. So take that for what you will. It does feel like one of those movies where everyone's like, "No, it's definitive. It's definitive. It's definitive." He's just a guy, yet you see earlier in the movie evidence that maybe that's not so. And this movie feels like it suffers from an identity crisis.
It does. I would say even Kills does, Sean. Like even in Kills, like that you walked away thinking, "Wow, Michael has some type of supernatural to him." Like he literally got like beat to death in the street by Haddonfield, and then got up and just murked everybody. Went back and killed Karen, and all of a sudden he's now in the sewer suffering, like super weak and tired. Like it just that part doesn't make sense to me. I think that this movie would have done a lot better if they would have kept it the same, have it in on the same night instead of the 4-year time jump. Again, I think my positives in this movie are the acting, the cinematography, and the score. My negatives, the way they treated Michael Myers in this movie, the way that they sent off Michael and Laurie. I mean, think about it. These are two iconic characters, and they just like give me the 2018 battle at the end of this movie. Like, I thought that was phenomenal. Like, Sean, you brought this up multiple times since we talked about it. You have a whole house to work through. Why not do that? If maybe Laurie runs outside of the house and Michael kind of chases her. I mean, damn, give us a little suspense, because there was no suspense in this movie either. It was just I don't know, man.
You know what it feels like, the final battle? It feels like they're just like, "Man, it's getting late. Fuck, we haven't done the battle yet. Shit. Okay, we can do it quickly, just right here in the kitchen. Let's just get it done." I don't understand. Hey, if you loved the battle, that's great. I can't see it. There are legitimately great things about this movie that I can see, but the battle is not one of them. Not for me, anyways. Like, it is lazy. It goes nowhere, and it's nowhere close to the 2018 battle.
And the last thing I'll say, Sean, on this is I shouldn't watch a Halloween movie that was heavily marketed as Michael and Laurie's final battle to enjoy the movie, but hate every scene that Michael Myers was in. Like, I shouldn't have to do that. Like, and my favorite kills don't even involve Michael. That junkyard scene that involved Corey was phenomenal. I love that scene.
The movie builds up to that scene, right? Like, that scene is payoff for the story that we're following.
Can you imagine if they would have just done a regular Halloween movie like that really lived up to the marketing, and it was Michael and Laurie's final battle, and maybe in a few years, Sean, or maybe like on a Netflix show, they created something that involved this Corey guy, right? Like, make a story about Corey or the town of Haddonfield, and like do this Corey story as an anthology series. Like, that would be great. They did a great job. They did a lot better job as far as writing dialogue in this movie, that I was really invested into Corey's story. Like, I'm not going to sit here and lie. I was really invested into his story. And I can tell you, if they made a whole movie about Corey and like the way that he snapped and all this other stuff, if you wanted to include Haddonfield in there for an anthology series, I'm cool with that, because I would have been involved. I would have been invested into it, because I should not have to watch a Halloween movie that is Michael and Laurie's final chapter in this series and hate the times that Michael Myers appears on screen. I shouldn't have to do that.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. Like again, it's a mixed bag for me because I legitimately think the best told story in this entire trilogy is Corey's story. And it's like,
I mean, let me ask you,
how do
Sean,
you let that happen?
how many times are you honestly gonna rewatch Halloween Ends?
Well, I've still seen it only once, Mike. I
I'm man, I'm not gonna sit here and lie to you. I can promise you that I would watch Rob Zombie's Halloween movie more times than Halloween Ends. Just for the pure simple fact that I get to see Michael. I'm not a big fan of Rob Zombie's Halloween movie mainly because of that first act. That second half of the movie, I'm not gonna lie, I enjoyed it, and I've grown to enjoy the second half of that movie. Still very, very low on my ranking list, but when I want to watch a movie about Michael Myers, that's not going to be the first one I put in. Not even the fifth one I put in, sixth one, seventh one I put in, but I would put that in over Halloween Ends.
Nobody wants to hear what I think about that because I'm the guy that would put probably a few movies in before 78. So, um, yeah, that's where my interests are kind of scattered. I again, Rohan Campbell was amazing in this movie. I dug Corey's story. I thought
Phenomenal.
the payoff, as you mentioned, with the junkyard scene, which by the way, uh, it's not just the credits; it's an H3 thing. I know I mentioned this over on Patreon a while ago, but like you have the junkyard scene, you have the doctor. There's so many there's almost too many Halloween 3 parallels to where you go. You were more focused on drawing parallels to that movie than you were on finishing your own story, whether you like 18 or kills or not. They don't do a good job of finishing their own story. They course correct in a massive way. And I again, it's mixed bag because I never thought I'd go into that movie, man, walk out of it and go, holy fuck, Corey's story was amazing right up until the point they completely fucking abandoned it.
Yeah, seriously. Like, I feel like as soon as I saw Michael Myers, like that's when I kind of checked out. And I think when I walked out, when we first did that review of the movie, Sean, that night, I said that I enjoyed the first 50 minutes of the movie, and then the back half of the movie outside of the funeral procession. So, and that kind of still stands there for me. And I want to throw this in there real quick. I know we'll talk about it a lot more on the Take One podcast, but Allison, like I hear a lot of people saying they don't like the way that she was in this movie, that they slutted her out in this movie. You got to remember, she's lost her mom, her dad, and she's very lonely. I don't know, maybe all of y'all are lucky enough to never be lonely in your life, but when you can find somebody and connect with them, one, you will connect with them very fast. It's just the way it is. I don't think that was like, I don't think that they slutted her out in any type of way. I see that everywhere, and I'm just not buying that. Like, I don't like that narrative, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I don't agree with it at all. If people are going to say, well, Lori went through all this trauma, what about the trauma for her granddaughter? Like that applies to her too. Like, and people who go through trauma sometimes don't make the greatest choices, and sometimes they're just looking for someone. It's that simple. Again, like I would end my Halloween Ends thoughts on this. By the way, we're going to have coverage on this movie for probably the next couple of months, simply because of the massive amount of behind the scenes crap that we've known about for a while and haven't been. Well, I've probably said too much on Patreon streams, but
real quick, I just want to ask you this, and it's the last thing I'll say on Allison. Who's her friend in this movie? Where are her friends?
the nurse that she basically
That stabs her in the back.
Yeah.
Yeah, she doesn't have any. So I don't. Again, I just see that in every review I watch, every comment. I don't like that. I mean, she has nobody.
Yeah, and guess what? There's a lot of people that don't have massive groups of friends and maybe just have one or two people they're close to, and outside of the guys at the channel and a handful of friends. My friends are my family, my children that are sleeping in the other room, my fiance. That's where I spend my time with, and they're my friends. And guess what? She doesn't have it. She doesn't.
Jade's a fool, man.
Oh.
In a good way. In a good
Oh,
way.
I was gonna say you're signing your own fucking death certificate there, bud. Good luck.
she said so if Mike, if Allison has a baby from Corey, you could say your mom's a hoe.
Oh my god. A little bit of bias there. By the way, Jesse's in the chat. Happy belated birthday to Jesse, who is the sponsor of our House of the Empire, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon review show. Without him, we wouldn't be able to do that show. So big thank you to Jess. And dude, I hope you had a happy birthday. And I have a surprise for you coming up, sir. So be on the lookout for that. It's channel related and may or may not involve coherence. So keep that in mind. So I'll say this with Halloween Ends before we get off of it, because I don't want to I don't want people to think that I'm just saying it's shit, because I don't think it's just shit. In fact, Mike, I can sit here and tell you the way we do the Overlook, and I know it's hard to keep bias and favorites out of it, but we don't review these movies because they're our favorites. We review these movies based on quality, and quality and favorites don't always line up. I know people that love The Leprechaun who are on this channel, but they'd never say that, oh yeah, it's one of the best movies ever made. You know, they don't always go hand in hand. I can say this, Mike, if I put this movie beside the other two movies, again, just looking at this movie alone, it's probably better than the other two movies in a lot of categories.
Yeah, I think it'd be super close between 18 for me. But I see where you're coming from. I mean, it'd be a lot closer for me than I thought it would be based off of our scorecards.
Yeah, for sure. And it is a mixed bag that I'm going to have to take some time to unpack, but and maybe people will think I'm being too narrow-minded with this. I'll never forgive the movie for the mishandling of Michael Myers.
Thank you.
And if you were going to mishandle him or go that far away from him, then you should have given Corey a better ending, because guess what? That character deserved better than it got at the end.
At the end of the day, they shitted on both of those characters.
They did.
Personally.
Only they spent the whole movie building up the one, and like, you know what? And you can literally see the creative tug of war happening on screen in Halloween Ends.
I mean, Sean, have you ever seen? We've never seen Michael so weak before, and just get. Oh man, I don't even like talking about it. Like, there's no way that I would ever put that movie on just to watch it. Like, it's not gonna happen.
I'd probably watch up until Corey dies, and then I'm good. Like, I'll watch it again full time through, but we shouldn't be walking out of this movie going, you know what? Fuck, Corey was amazing. But fuck Michael Myers. That was not, despite what other people are saying, was not the point of this trilogy.
It wasn't, and this has nothing to do with James Jude Courtney. He did phenomenal in this movie.
Yeah,
just don't like the way the character Michael Myers was written.
Yeah, and you know what? Speaking of that writing, we'll dive into this more on future episodes of Making the Shape, which is a new Halloween pre-produced show that we have at the channel, and we'll be doing all sorts of Halloween content for the next couple of years based off that show. The writing style for this movie was not done like a movie. It was done like a TV series. It was 4 guys who literally wrote the movie in a choose your own adventure style, and they just kept handing it off to one another. And that's typically not how a movie works. That's more like how TV works than how a movie works. And you know what, Mike? At times, this feels more like a TV show than a movie. And again, I'm not trying to discount anybody's feelings about this. If you love this movie, I'm thrilled for you. Again, I don't hate it. It's a mixed bag.
Yeah.
If you got what you wanted, then I'm thrilled. That's amazing.
I hope people love this movie.
Toronto Freddy in the chat, I never in a million years would have thought he would have liked this movie. And it seems like he really likes this movie. And I could not be more happy for him, because his experience coming out of the previous 2 where he didn't like them really at all. And I'm thrilled that at least this trilogy offered something to him. And I will say this, say what you want about David Gordon Green in this trilogy, there's probably something for everybody in this trilogy. Does it mean it makes sense? Does it mean it's cohesive? No. But you probably get a little something at some point during the trilogy. At the end of the day, though, not having a set creative direction, Jamie Lee Curtis coming on and doing her thing, David Gordon Green just allowing it. To Jason Blum's credit, from what I understand, he fell somewhere in the middle, but ultimately has to pick a side. It's just kind of bitter that it ended in the fashion it did, because up until this movie, there wasn't a ton of creative differences behind the scenes. And then it all fell apart with this movie in a way that's going to be compared to probably the production of Halloween 6 when it's all said and done. And it does make me wonder if we'll end up getting a different cut of the movie, because there is more than enough material for it, man. Anyways, let us know in the chat below if you like Halloween Ends, if you didn't like Halloween Ends, what you would do differently. And if we don't get your comment today, we'll get anyway, we'll take the time to read the comment section afterwards, and just enjoy it. Dean says,
can I ask a question? Oh no, go ahead. Read Dean's question. I want to ask.
My Halloween pitch: go back to H2, retcon the ending, and hospital explosion, continue from the end of H2, basically a new H3. I don't mind that idea, but for me, I'm done with the let's go back to the. I shouldn't say that, because I'm up for the whole Halloween 4 sequel, but like I'm also up for if they want to start 2024.
Yes.
Current day Michael Myers new with Joanna Hamburger or something, and do that kind of slasher story. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, I would obviously, I've said it before, I agree with Sean. I would love for them to go back and do something after 4. But I wouldn't be opposed to doing something like they did in 2000, I think 9 or 12, or whenever the Friday the 13th movie came out. I wouldn't mind seeing something like that. I mean, a whole new group of people. If you want to give Michael still his backstory, obviously that's fine. Kind of like what they did with Jason. I'm definitely cool with that. I want to ask the chat this, and I want to ask you, Sean, because I said it and I was just thinking about it. So I want to ask the chat: would you rather watch? It's Halloween, and you have to pick between these movies. Would you rather watch? Are you throwing in Halloween Ends or Rob Zombie's Halloween? Two films that aren't widely considered favorites really at all by the fan base, but I definitely want to know from the chat. Sean, I think I haven't know where he's going to go with this, but
which version?
It has to be the theatrical one, and the only reason I say that is just there's just a scene that I'm not the biggest Rob Zombie fan for obvious reasons. So
I love the Munsters, but I still haven't watched that movie because I don't know if I can sit through 90 minutes of Sherry Moon Zombie again, or however long that movie is. So
the reviews aren't good either. So
oh man, what a shock. Didn't see that. Oh man, I would probably go Halloween Ends, man. Now if you said Rob Zombie's Halloween 2, I'm not saying it's a better movie. Like if we were doing, and we will be doing, and in the not too distant future, might I add, Rob Zombie's Halloween movies on here. I would obviously rate the first one as a higher quality film than the second one. But the second one is one of those movies that I find so terrible that it's comedic, and I get entertainment value by laughing halfway, half the movie.
Well, this was so triggering about the show, and I think you brought this up last time we talked about it. I think I brought up we were talking about H4 and H2O. I was like, man, I enjoy H4 better than H2O. I love H2O. Like, don't get me wrong. But I feel like I love H4 a little bit more. But I want to say my H2O score was a little higher. But you were like, well, it all depends. It's not necessarily saying what you like to watch more, what you enjoy more. It's just based off of our scorecard.
I also just want to. I need to clip that, by the way, Jade. She sent me a message. I've seen it in the chat too. I sell the sizzle, not the steak. We need that as a cutout clip on the show. I also just want to point out to everybody in the chat whether you're new to the channel or not, please take a second and click the thumbs up button. It really does help other people find the stream. It's the way Google and YouTube work. And hit subscribe if you're new. But regardless of where you fall on Halloween Ends, you love it, you hate it, it's a mixed bag. It's the best movie you've ever saw. It's the worst movie you ever saw. Your opinion is your opinion, and you're absolutely entitled to have it. We're not going to degrade you because you feel one way or another. I've seen that on social media. I've seen that from some people that are supposed to be reputable content creators. And it's one of the reasons why, like, I have a hard time just watching anybody anymore. And it's kind of shit. And yet I've seen it before because I'm a Star Wars fan, and the Star Wars thing was on a much, much, much larger scale than Halloween. So it's annoying, it's frustrating, but I promise you, you're not going to be waiting 6 or 7 years for another Halloween movie unless things go disastrously wrong. So you'll get a chance to see something else, but don't fucking send. I seen Toronto Freddy put this up in the chat earlier. I can't find it now. I don't think it'll let me go back that far. People that are sending Rohan Campbell death threats, are you fucking kidding me? The dude literally just put on arguably the best performance in a Halloween movie. You don't have to like the creative direction of the movie. I fucking hate it. I can't stand what they did to our guy, Michael Myers. I'm also not the one making the movie. They made the choices.
Neither is he.
Right? He it's a job. And you know what? He did a pretty fucking good job with what he had to work with. You know, some people might say he made turn chicken shit into chicken salad. I don't know if I would go that far, but like, you're a piece of shit if you're going out there doing that to people, whether you're a content creator or anybody else. People are allowed to feel how they feel. And for the love of God, we run a Halloween fandom group. Can people leave poor Dean alone? Like, the guy is going fucking nuts.
Going nuts, like at least twice a day making a post. And I'm not even super active in that group, but I swear I can't. Every time I get on Facebook, he's got to make a post. Poor guy. Dean, I'm sorry, man.
Facebook is shit. If you come out and say, yeah, I fucking hate this movie, you know, I wish Laurie would have died in it, they might not let you post it. That's how Facebook works now. It's not Dean going, you know what? This person likes the movie, so I'm not going to approve their post. Fuck off with that shit. We're not here to censor anybody. Unless you're being a dipshit, then we might censor you. But otherwise, no. You know, poor Dean. Fuck. He's going to go fucking Loomis Halloween 5 on people soon. I swear.
Good
Dean,
list, Heath. Good history.
Every time he gets a notification for that group. Intel Wild says, I've seen it twice. $5 super chat, by the way, greatly appreciated. Any little bit definitely helps. Keeps the lights on around here. I've seen it twice. Don't know if I'll ever watch Halloween Ends again, being completely honest. I won't go that far, man, but I understand how you feel. And the interest, like, over the years, I've gotten, pretty close to Toronto Freddy, pretty close with Intel Wild. And I was surprised to see both of them at like two different ends of the spectrum when it came to this movie. Say what you want about this movie, it's divisive. And the last thing I'll say, yeah, for sure. The last thing I'll say on Halloween Ends, man, and then I'll let you have your final thought, is I'll give Jamie Lee Curtis this. I didn't think in a million years she'd come out and own up to some of the on-set issues publicly that she helped cause too. And she did. And whether I agree with them or not, you got to commend her for owning it. A lot of people wouldn't do that.
I'm super sad to see her go, if I'm being completely honest. But I have been on this show, and as much as I am a fan of Jamie Lee Curtis, Sean knows that, I do think she has run her course as far as her story has. And I'm definitely fine and have been fine for a while now. I was perfectly satisfied with the end of H2O, if I'm being honest with you. And the Resurrection went and just shit it all over that, which I have huge problems with. That it involve another show that has to be at least a 5-hour time block for me to get into that. But super sad to see her go. Super sad to see her and Michael's story come to an end, especially with James Jude Courtney, man. Big shout out to him. Tremendous job as Michael Myers. I do think he is the GOAT as the Shape. Did a tremendous job in all 2.5 movies. And I'll just say again, Christopher Nelson, phenomenal job as well. Really, really great work overall. I would say for me personally, those are my three highlights. And Andy Matichek, I enjoyed her a lot as well, and I know Sean did too. I said it. I wanted her to for her to be the lead person, and unfortunately, we really didn't get that. I mean, we in this movie we kind of got her and Corey's love story, but Corey was the main guy, right? So it sucked we didn't get a full movie with Andy as the lead. But I enjoyed it as far as character wise. Those would be probably my top four character or top three actors, and then Christopher Nelson on the effects side as well. So
yeah, I mean, Christopher Nelson's work on this, they were incredibly lucky to even have him involved in the project. So kudos for him and to him and everything that he did. It's really, really good, the impact that he had on these movies, regardless of what you thought of the movies. His impact on them was very noticeable.
Well, I don't have high hopes for The Exorcist, but I have high hopes that the special effects will look good because Christopher Nelson is a part of that. So
David Gordon Green also called it a drama. So
true.
I mean, there's definitely some dramatic aspects to The Exorcist for sure.
Well, and not even David Gordon Green. I was just, no matter who did this, I'd be very skeptical of. Just a movie I didn't think they should touch. So
all right. So we're a little late getting to this, but our fan question for this video, which is presented by Chris C_78, Halloween Mask Rehauler, Patreon member, sponsor, and a Fandom Empire executive producer, our new top tier over on Patreon. By the way, he rehauls Michael Myers masks, does some of the best work that I've seen, and he does them at a price that isn't going to cost you your mortgage. So be on the lookout for that. And by the way, if you're a member of one of the two top tiers of our Patreon, you actually get a discount on those masks. So there's some benefits over there as well. Big thanks to Chris and everything that he does.
You're just telling me that?
Well, I mean, the deal just got made this week. And then also a big thank you to Matt Whitfield. Without him, there would be no Overlook Drive-In. And in addition, Mr. Jason Nike, who I don't think sent me his most recent thumbnails, but I'm going to have to check towards the end of the stream and prepare them. And if they are there, then I'll put them up towards the end of the stream. But I know why he'd be not in on this stream, simply because he hasn't seen the movie yet. So
I did see him. He did a live video right before we came on reacting to the Creed 3 trailer. So he was live earlier in the night.
Oh, there you go. Go check it out. Creed 3 trailer. I didn't even know there was a trailer out yet. Creed 3 trailer recap there, reaction, pardon me, over on J-Man's Movie Cave. Definitely checking out. Jason is one of the nicest fucking guys you will ever meet. That's not me just saying that because he's a sponsor of the channel. I've spent time with him, not just online, but in person. Legitimately one of the nicest people you will ever meet. But what would you give Halloween Ends out of 10? Mike and I aren't going to answer that question because eventually here our scorecards are going to answer that question.
It wouldn't match anyways.
Let's see what the chat's saying here. And by the way, it's Q&A time now. I'll pop the graphic up in a second. Any questions that you have over the next 5 or 6 minutes relating to anything at all, Halloween, horror, or movie related, please post them in the chat now and we will get to them shortly.
Sean, are you good at math?
Sometimes.
So what would a 2.5 stars out of 5 revert to out of 10?
5.
That is true. I'm dumb.
That was bad, man. That was, wow.
Well, I went to public school, so.
Well, I sure as hell wasn't going to private school.
I'm just fucking with you, man. I think score wise for me, I can't tell you. Because it's not going to match up when we do the scorecards. Damn it, I just know it.
Yeah, well, okay, so give it to me then. I mean, it doesn't have to match up when you do the scorecard, but just off the top of your head.
4 out of 10.
I'd give it a 5.5.
Gotcha.
So, Toronto Freddy says 7.5 out of 10. Wow, harsh critic. He really liked this thing, and he's still only giving it a 7.5 out of 10. Dean Renner, 1 out of 10. Solid F rating. F is for fuck.
So, Dean, Resurrection or Halloween Ends? I gotta know.
Oh, man. As a Halloween movie, I don't even know if I can answer that question, man. Oh.
No. Well, yeah, that is true. If you think
Not
of
just
it
as
from
a movie,
Halloween
a movie in general, we know what one shot better and written better and all that. But as a Halloween movie, I don't know.
Man, I was really looking forward to Trick or Treat, motherfucker.
Well, we're going to be talking about that movie on the channel soon. So
I won't be here.
Steve Ross says 6.5 out of 10. Entertainment Wizard gives it a 3 out of 10. Jesse says 7 out of 10. Upon the Ventura, 6 out of 10. Justin's a 2 out of 10. Matt Whitfield's a 4.5 out of 10. He's just taking Mike's thing. Can't have an opinion for himself. He's got to steal Mike's score. Just kidding, Matt. Linton says 7 out of 10. Dean Renner's giving it a 50%. Wow. Are you saying, were you answering Mike's thing? Because I think you just said 1 out of 10.
Well, Dean literally said, I am picking Resurrection. It's fucking terrible, but it's a Halloween movie.
Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at. I don't know what I'd have to think about that one. Might be a good poll to put out there.
I like one kill in Resurrection. That's about it.
Heath says 0 out of 10 Michael Wimpy on film. Yeah, I get what you're saying there, man. And I certainly understand having that take. It is Q&A time, so feel free to fill up the chat, guys, and we'll spend the next 5 minutes getting to them. But again, ready those scorecards because it's almost time to break down, review, and score Halloween 2 from 1981. I'm really curious to, I already know where it ends up. Mike doesn't, though. I'm the one that does the graphics. So
I don't know.
Melissa gave it a 9, by the way. Joe gives it an 8. Steven gives it a 5.5. Jade gives it a 6.5 for a Halloween movie and 8 out of 10 for a horror movie. Jim Carr gives it a negative 5 out of 10.
I just don't know if I see this as a horror movie, man.
I agree. It feels like a drama. There's some horror elements for sure.
Yeah.
But it feels like a drama. Rich, my good buddy, Rich and I grew up together. He's given it a 3.1425.
Not bad.
Oh, man. How bad did you want that to be Michael on the back of the motorcycle? Pretty fucking bad.
I think I'd shoot it up to a 4.5.
But honestly, real question here, not to get too technical, but how's Michael getting around?
How did they end up at the doctor's house together?
Like, did he hop on the motorcycle?
Gotta be in the deleted scenes.
So, well, knowing these guys, they probably stole a station wagon or some shit. So, and speaking of that, for those that don't know what our good buddy Toronto Freddy is referencing, he's referencing this meme here, if you will. I died when I seen this, man. I was over the moon.
Michael even has his fingernails painted.
Wow, they're really changing Michael in this movie. But yeah, no, that's all in good fun, everybody. All in good fun. Let's see what is in the chat right now to see if anything comes up or if anybody's asked or made any comments. Ken says, I'd say 7, but the last half brings it down 2 points, so 5 out of 10. Matt Whitfield says, what the hell? I'm not a good guy. Well, if you say so, man. I was trying to, sell you high. Heath Denson says Resurrection over Ends. At least Michael was Michael, except for when he was Busta Rhymes. Justin Smith says at least Resurrection didn't treat Michael like a old weak man missing his walker. Michael in this movie, has anybody seen the H60 trailer that came out after the Halloween 2018 trailer, and it's Michael as an old man. It's very well shot, but basically Michael's walking around half bald with a walker. This movie reminded me of that a little bit at times.
Another thing I like in Resurrection, just because I think it's funny as shit, is when Michael is about to stab the main girl in the movie, and Buster comes busting through the garage, and Michael just lifts his head up like, "What in the fuck is this guy doing?"
Bushwhack. If they had completed the trauma angle with Laurie realizing after tossing Michael into the crusher that the person she had shaped her life around for 40 plus years was gone, and she jumped in. Well, I'm assuming you're just joining the stream now, man. I would highly suggest you go back to the beginning of this stream and we talk about certain things that were changed with this movie, specifically a Laurie Strode fate. Jamie Lee Curtis also talked about her changing one of the endings publicly, which we've referenced on our Patreon. And there's another video up on our channel right now. If you go check it out, worked very hard on it. It's the first episode of Making the Shape here at the channel.
There's not a lot of there's not, like, I just want to say this, Sean, and what a year for horror it's been. Whether you like some of the movies that have come out or not, but I know there's not a lot to compete with in the box office this weekend, and really nothing major for the rest of the year outside of Black Panther that comes to mind. But the Halloween's #1 in the box office. I think Smile hit #3, which, Sean, I think they did the numbers on Smile, and they're going to get, with marketing included, 4 to 5 times what they spent in that movie, which is phenomenal for them and that small movie that they made. And then Terrifier 2 is in the top 10 as well. Another very, very small film. So having 3 horror movies, in the top 10 at the box office is always pretty good. Pretty good for horror.
People have nothing better to do with their time, apparently. Anyways, there wasn't a lot of competition. And again, say what you want about this movie. This movie has overachieved overseas. It legitimately has. So kudos to them, for sure. We'll answer a couple more questions and put up some comments here. Excuse me. I seen Toronto Freddy says it definitely was the most cohesive film of the 3. They actually gave me characters I cared about. I would say it was the most cohesive film, like just as a standalone film for about 80% of the film, and then they remembered there's 2 other films. So that's the way I see it, anyways. But I'm glad I'm thrilled that you finally got a movie out of this trilogy that you enjoyed. Dean Renner says they won't explain how they got to the houses and be perfectly fine with it. Why tie loose ends together? Is that what the title actually means? Halloween loose ends might make some more sense. Oh man. Bushwhack says they love the content, by the way. Oh, it's appreciated, man.
Thank you, dude. Appreciate it.
We're putting our best foot forward here at the channel to offer all sorts of different types of content. So, and if you're a Supernatural fan, by the way, Supernatural prequel's out, The Winchesters. I will have a reaction to the new episode of that up tomorrow morning. And then right before Mike and I join the Take One podcast tomorrow night for a big Halloween Ends roundtable. You'll be able to find Tommy and I's spoiler review, which will be about 20 minutes long, of The Winchesters episode 2. So be sure to check that out on the channel. He says, I hope when the next Halloween comes to film that we have a Loomis or a Loomis-like character be the antagonist. And so a lot of people assume that if they continue the Jamie Lloyd story, that they're just going to jump ahead, 30 something years. But the truth is they may not have to do that. Danielle Harris still looks very young for her age. And, the film might take place in like 2000 or 2002. You just don't know, right? And there's no guarantee it happens. There's no guarantee it's a film. There's just discussions right now going on about it. Those discussions could lead to something else. Rich says, don't think Black Adam is going to be big or just horror, are you saying?
I was talking about for this past weekend, Richard. Black Adam comes out this week. That'll probably shoot to #1, obviously, because, it's a superhero movie. But I was talking about this past weekend, to have that amount of horror movies, whether the box office is full or not, is always good. And it's really good to see a small horror film like Terrifier 2 and especially Smile bringing in the numbers that they're bringing in. Smile is just doing tremendous. And Sean, I was listening to John Campea today, and I don't know how accurate this is, and he said he has to crunch the numbers, but he said that Smile, as far as what they spent on the movie and what they're making, including marketing, may be the most successful movie all year.
Wouldn't be surprised. When it comes to numbers, say what you want about Campia, he can be a dick sometimes. So could I, if I'm being honest. But when it comes to box office numbers, he's about as spot on as it gets. So that's his forte. It's what he likes to do. Anyways, ladies and gentlemen, again, what did you think about Halloween Ends? Comment down in the comment section below. We would love to hear your thoughts. Don't go anywhere, though. This is the main event of the show. For the next 45, 50 minutes, we're going to be discussing Halloween 2 from 1981. Get those scorecards ready. We're talking about acting. We're talking about cinematography. We're talking about writing and directing. We're talking about sound and score and story and pace. Get the scorecards ready. Just like always, play along with us, and let's see where Halloween 2 from 1981 lands.
Play with us, Danny.
Alrighty, Halloween 2 from 1981, man. First impressions for you, dude. What was it like the first time you seen this movie?
I loved it, and I still love it to this day. Actually, this is the first, I think, back-to-back movie that I saw, Sean, to where the second movie was literally a continuation. Another movie that comes to mind is my favorite of all time, Back to the Future and Back to the Future 2. But this one was the very first one that I saw as far as Halloween going, and then Halloween 2 picking up directly where Halloween left off. So I found that really, really intriguing. And I just watched these two films the other night. I watched Halloween, and then I watched this right back to back, and it fits perfectly, man. They fit perfectly together. I was able to I own this on 4K, so I did see this in 4K just like you did. And I just remember the first time seeing this when I was little, man. Michael was a lot more scarier to me in this film. His kills were more brutal, obviously, in this film. So I was scared overall more than I was in that 78 film. And then just the score in this movie, like, I don't want to say jump scares, but like points in the movie where the score or the sound design would just, the pings, like the bing, like it just hit perfectly to where I would kind of jump and I got scared. Like, this is one of the most memorable Halloween movies outside of the 78 and 4 for me when I watched these as a little kid, that really sticks out to me. And the main reason for that is I just thought this movie was far beyond scarier than that 78 film, for me personally as a kid. So that was kind of my first experience watching this movie. How about yourself?
So I've talked about this ad nauseum on the channel, but my first time that I seen Halloween, outside of a partial viewing that I don't remember too much of, Halloween H2O, which I talked about briefly last week. Which, by the way, if you didn't tune in last week, we did Halloween H2O here on the channel. So go check that out. It's up on the channel now. The reception for the Overlook Drive-In in general so far has been great. I've seen Halloween 1, Halloween 2, and Halloween 4 all on the same night. I have yet to do that again. I would like to do that again sometime. Halloween 2 was far more scary than Halloween 1. And I don't know if anybody remembers being in a hospital late at night, emerge. And I'm not talking like now, but like if it's happened to you at all in, let's say 20 years ago, even. One of the scariest fucking places to be is a hospital in the wee hours of the night on a non-busy night because it's a bloody ghost town.
And it's this movie is probably the main reason why I still think about that to this day anytime I have to step into a hospital. It really is. It sounds weird, but no matter what I have to go to the hospital for, which knock on wood, I haven't had to go here recently, but I have been obviously throughout my life. And every time I go into a hospital, Sean, I just think about one of the first things that comes to mind because I've never been there late at night and it be a ghost town. So I always think to myself, is it really like a ghost town? And if it is, do you know how creepy that would be? Like I would literally, this is probably one of the movies that I would step out of the like I would get up from the waiting room and look down the hallways and I see nobody and I expect Michael to step out. Like I would literally expect that.
Yeah, I remember actually being in the hospital probably a few months after I seen those movies, and I was completely fucking creeped out. It was not a fun experience. I really though I dig the setting, man. This movie has its issues for me. I don't think it's a perfect Halloween movie, uh, but I thoroughly enjoyed my first watch through, which is cool because the first time I seen 78, and I think one of the issues I had with 78 was my cousin had hyped it up so fucking much for months. And then when I seen it, it was like, oh, okay, like that was good, but I don't know if I thought it was the best thing ever. And most people, regard it as that. And I thought Halloween 2 at that time was better. And then I got introduced to Halloween 4, and the rest is history. So, and we did Halloween 4 on the channel, so feel free to head back and check that out on the Overlook Drive-In.
Can't wait to hear your rankings tomorrow night, by the way, on the podcast.
It's going to be a hassle. I haven't even completed it yet, simply because for me, my Halloween rankings are almost always volatile. Like one year you could have something in second place, and the next year that movie might be in fourth. Now it's not going from second to eighth or anything, but
yeah, I get it.
Do them interchangeable for sure. All right, guys, scorecard time. People, get your scorecards ready. Category number 1: story and pacing. As soon as I figure out how to get Toronto Freddy's comment off the screen. Here we go. Mike, what do you think of the story and the pacing in Halloween 2, which obviously takes place on the same night as Halloween 1, even though the movie did not come out until 3 years later? What does that remind everybody of, by the way? Yeah. What do you think of the story and the pacing, man? Where's it fall for you?
For me, man, I really enjoyed it. It's still regarded to me as one of the best Halloween stories, in my opinion, that I really still enjoy to this day, man. And a lot of that has to do with, they sold it as it being on the same night, that we saw 3 years earlier in the 1978 film. And I truly feel that way. Like I watched them back to back multiple times over the years, and it still feels like the same night. And we obviously we go to the hospital and we talk about just how scary that was in general for me as a kid. And honestly, an empty hospital at night, still kind of thinking about it gives me the chills. Like it's somewhere I don't want to be, and don't ever want to encounter or have that feeling in real life. Like so it tapped into emotions and feelings and horror in my own mind that I still appreciate to this day. And it's a movie for me that I worry that will it hold up? Will it hold up? And it's still a movie, Sean, that is in my top 10 horror movies of all time for me. Like this is a movie that still holds very, very strong to me, very, very high in my Halloween ranking. And overall, for the story wise, I was never really out of the story. Pacing wise, maybe it has its issues, but I'm not gonna nitpick that again, I was never, despite it maybe having some pacing issues here and there, I was never out of the movie. I watch this movie all the time, and I never find myself looking away like, oh man, when's the next kill? Oh man, where's Michael? Again, huge Jamie Lee Curtis fan, but she kind of takes a huge back seat in this movie until the last chase scene through the hospital, which that entire chase scene I really enjoyed as well, being outside. So for me, Sean, I really enjoyed it, man. I really have nothing else to say, but it's a story. I'll wrap it up by saying it's a story that holds high for me out of all horror stories that I have encountered.
I don't want to get too far off of Halloween 2 here, man, but like you bring up the Jamie Lee Curtis thing, how she was benched for a good portion of it's probably not the best term to use, but she was in the back seat anyways for a good chunk of Halloween 2.
Yeah.
And you get thinking about it, man. And I get having parallels, but there's a real lack of originality to the new Halloween movies that I was probably too blind to see coming out of Halloween 2018. I had an opportunity to be at TIFF. It was an incredible experience. Would never have met Toronto Freddy if I didn't go there. It was awesome. I thoroughly dug my experience there. But when you line the evidence up, man, all the parallels that are in H3 compared to Halloween Ends, all the parallels that are in Halloween 2 to Halloween Kills, the hospital being a big one, even though not the same things happen there, the search for Michael Myers being another big one, and then Laurie again takes a back seat and is in the hospital in that movie. And the fire aspects of Halloween Kills related to Halloween 2, and then 2018, obviously Michael breaks out and goes on a rampage again. There's other parallels too, but like,
yeah,
part of me goes, that's too on the nose. That's the new movies. Again, I'm a little off topic here, but you had brought up the backseat thing, and like, it's not like I just realized it now, but for me personally, it's kind of like, oh, yeah, there's a real lack of originality in these movies.
Yeah, I mean, again, she took a huge backseat in Kills. So yeah, I agree with that.
In terms of the story and the pacing, though, for me in this movie, I don't mind the story. The brother and the sister angle, to me, play off better in the, not necessarily the brother and the sister angle, but the family angle plays off better when Jamie Lloyd gets involved. Because I don't know, maybe it's my bias.
Yeah, and I don't mean to interrupt you. I just want to say this. I'm glad you brought that up. It honestly, for me, I know that's a big thing for people, the brother and sister thing. I honestly, personally, for me, could care less. Like, I don't sit here and say that I love it, and I don't sit here and say that I hate it either way. So I don't know how you feel about that, Sean. I know you said that it makes more sense, obviously, in Halloween 4. You like it better in Halloween 4. But the brother and sister thing, for me, never bothered me, as it seems to really irk a lot of the fan base.
Well, I'm going to backtrack here because the truth is we didn't finish our notes for this show until right before it. I've just been mad busy. I missed our intro to this, so let's put a break on my thoughts on the story. Excuse me, pardon me. That was rude. It's one of those days. Halloween 2, written by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, directed by Rick Rosenthal, produced by John Carpenter and Deborah Hill, pardon me, or as Dean's best friend says, Dobra Hills. Distributed.
Oh my God.
Universal Pictures, starring Jamie Lee Curtis, Donald Pleasance, and Dick Warlock. Music by John Carpenter, and as Toronto Freddy pointed out earlier in the chat, Alan Howarth. My God, does he have an impact on this movie, the next movie, and future installments. The production budget for Halloween 2 from 1981 was $2.5 million and made $25.5 million in the worldwide box office. It debuted at number 1 in the box office and stayed there for 1 week. Opened October 30th, 1981. Production company is Dino De Laurentiis Corporation. And the runtime of this film is 92 minutes. Anything at all stand out to you there, Mike?
I think you mentioned it, and it's Alan. Alan. Let me make sure I say this
Alan
correct.
Howard. Yeah.
Howarth. Yeah. That stands out to me. And honestly, the runtime stands out to me. I think Halloween 1978 and Halloween 2, one of the biggest reasons that I think the story is so well done, and that I don't want to say that I love them so much, because obviously you got to tell a great story within the confines of the film and how much time you're filming them, but they're easy watches. Like, I don't feel like they're super short, and I don't feel like they're way too long. I feel like they're really, really good, simple watches that I really enjoy. And Sean, I think a lot of movies these days either run too long or run too short. Mostly too long these days. We don't really get a lot of movies that hit it right on the nose. And I think that these two movies, as far as runtime, really hit it right on the nose.
Yeah, and I think Halloween 4 is right there with it too.
It is. Yep.
I you know, this is one thing I'll say about the possibility of a Jamie Lloyd continuation, is I don't wanna see some 2-hour movie, and I don't really wanna see 2 or 3 movies. You can tell it in 85 to 90 minutes and pace it properly. Although I don't think the pace to Halloween 2 is all that good. I think it feels clunky at times, and I think part of the reason it feels clunky at times is it's this weird ensemble of actors, and we sort of lose where our story was at Halloween 2, or pardon me, Halloween 1978 for a bit. So story and pacing for me is not maybe as high as it's going to be for some other people, but boy, the impact of Alan Howarth's score in this movie is so noticeable. He does such a knockout job with it that I can't wait to get to later. But the story and the pacing, man, I dig the story. I don't really care for the way the brother and sister angles handled. But pacing, I do think the film has some pacing issues. Um, so I'm gonna give. I see it. This is my problem. I always forget what my score is, and then I almost go show the scorecards, which
Well,
shows all the scores. So,
Well, while you're looking for it, I forgot to give mine. So I'll for story and pacing for me, I gave it a 9, which is very, very good. You got to think you're giving it out of a 10. The story and pacing for me was phenomenal. So for me, I gave it a 9.
yeah, I'm seeing that now. I give it a 7. I was at a 7 for story and pacing. Might seem a little harsh, but again, Halloween 2 is not like it's one of my favorite Halloween movies. I respect it for what it is, but I do think there's some pacing issues that make the movie feel a little clunky at times. But that's just me. Before we move on to our next category, though, please, I know some of you guys already posted your scores forever ago. We apologize. I apologize for getting mixed up here in the notes. It's been a really long day. So if you can, and if you will, please submit your scores now in the live chat for story and pacing in Halloween 2. And as you do that, I'm going to read off some facts about Halloween 2. John Carpenter originally wanted nothing to do with the film. Halloween 2 went through multiple interpretations, some that did not include the hospital. John Carpenter came up with the sibling idea one night when he was drinking and stuck on story. Deborah Hill kept the mask from 1978 under her bed for years. The film was actually originally much less violent. Halloween 2 was intended to be the end of Michael Myers' story. Ben Tramer, that's right, Laurie's eye there. The shall you say her wants in terms of a companion, if you will, in 1978 ends up biting the dust while looking like Michael Myers in what is truly just a vicious car crash. And one of Dana Carvey's first films is actually Halloween 2 with a cameo in front of the Wallace house. Is any of that new information to you, Mike, or do you know it all already?
Can you bring that back up real quick, if you don't mind? And again, shout out to Sean for finding these facts. Right? I mean, tremendous job by you, man. Appreciate you putting this together. I mean, for me, I would have to say, I'd have to say the last one with the cameo in front of Wallace's house. I didn't know that one at all. I do want to mention this though. Um, the fact that John Carpenter wanted nothing to do with this film, and that, he wrote this really in a very short amount of time, and then was drinking most of the time, and then came up with the brother sister thing. I know people don't like that, but Sean, I've said this on multiple occasions. For a guy who wanted nothing to do with the film, and in his words, kind of threw it all together, pretty good film just to throw together.
Yeah, no, I it does sort of have that stigma a little bit because of Carpenter's approach, but all in all, it's hard to complain with this movie. Again, not one of my favorites, but I appreciate the quality of this movie, and I keep wanting to just jump to the score and the sound design, but we gotta wait. So let's read what everybody else's scores. Or did I give mine yet, or did I?
You did not.
All right, so
you did. You said seven. Seven.
Yours was a 9. I'm a 7.
Yep.
You're a 9. Pika gives it a 7. Steve Ross gives it a 9.5. Jim gives it an 8. Jesse gives it a 9. Dean Renner gives it a 9.5. Wow. Entertainment Wizard 9.5. Mark Down says an 8. Ken 9.5. Spooky says 8.5. Linton gives it a 9.5. Heath gives it a 9.5. Much appreciated, everybody, for scoring along with us here. We'll keep the ball moving, though, because it's time to get to the acting in Halloween 2. That mother Canucker right there, the late, great Donald Pleasance, he carries this movie in acting, man. Like, you talk about putting on a clinic. He puts on a clinic in this movie and then steps it up even more so in 4. Jamie Lee Curtis doesn't get much to do in this movie, so it's hard for her to really carry the movie. But when Pleasance is on screen in this movie, man, I'm buying it completely. He totally invests in the role. He doesn't no-sell anything, and really sort of adds a lot of the lore to the movie that we get to hear about.
Yeah, man, I totally agree. I mean, he is easily the highlight for me, as far as when it comes to the acting in this movie. Just absolutely phenomenal job. I love the fact that they opened him up a little bit more in this movie as well. But yeah, definitely, I have to agree with you, man. Really carried the cast and just the movie overall in general. Again, as far as the acting goes, now, Sean, there's not really anybody in this movie that acting wise that I thought was dumb or that I hated or somebody. There wasn't a Tina in this movie, is what I'm going to start saying. There wasn't a Tina in this movie.
What did we say about saying that name, man?
Yeah, I know. It's the best way to compare, and that's what I'm doing. Even Annie Brackett was better in this movie than Tina. So,
poor Annie. Poor Annie. Wow.
Yeah, a lot better though. Anyways, so overall acting for me, man, I'll say it's good, really good in this movie. I have no problems. I'm gonna go with an 8 because I don't think nobody really, like, outside of Loomis, like, did phenomenal. So I thought it was a good movie with good solid characters. You mentioned Jamie being, in the bed most of the movie and not really having a huge part. And when she didn't really talk much either. Didn't really have that many lines in this movie, besides "Don't Put Me to Sleep." So for me, Donald Pleasance was phenomenal in this movie. I'm giving the acting a solid 8.
Nice. Nicely done. Toronto Freddy says Dick Warlock is the guy in the cop car who hits Ben Tramer. Dean Renner follows that up with Jamie Lee Curtis's wig and crawling is exceptional in this movie. The chase scene is badass. Like, I don't know if there's a better chase scene in Halloween, period. The acting in this movie, sorry, apologies. The acting
you're good.
Is very good from Donald Pleasance anyway. But there's a few characters that don't hit too well, and it kind of lacks a little bit. Like, I don't think it's the best acted Halloween movie, but Pleasance is fantastic in the movie, so I dig what he brings. And I gave the acting an 8, which I believe you already said your score.
Yep, 8.
Or, yeah, I was gonna say we had the same score for that one. So Mike gives it an 8. I give it an 8. There's some people already posting their scores in the chat. Try to wait till we ask for the scores so I don't have to go back and dig for them, guys. It's really, really hard to keep up. But Linton says actually, I don't know what it's for what here. Toronto Freddy's saying 9.5 across the board. Melissa's a 7. Upon's a 9.5. Steve is a 9. What else do we got here? It looks like they're the only one showing right now. Jesse's giving it an 8. So yeah,
Pretty good.
Acting's a 9. Acting's a 9 from Entertainment Wizards. So Linton says 9. Mark says 10 for Loomis, 7 for the rest. It's probably right around where I am. I'd be down for that. Jim says it was an 8, but then I heard Bud's rendition of Amazing Grace.
Come sit on my face.
Oh, horns for you, good sir. Horns for you. Melissa's giving it 9. Father Geese Goose. It's second or third time I've seen this guy here. 11 out of 10 movie. Wow. I don't know if that's allowed on our scorecard. Spooky says 8 out of 10. Boy, I'm losing my voice here. It's not good. Legitimately. All right. So let's Mike, say something for a second, please.
You're good, man. Maybe you need Jay to bring you something to drink. You got something? Nice. Okay. Yeah, Spooky gave it an 8 out of 10. Appreciate everybody giving their scores. But Sean, man, I think it's time to jump into that next category.
It is. It's time for the cinematography. I was about to say to everybody, hey, you didn't see it, but Mike was dancing that entire time, but he showed you anyway. So
Phillies take game 1, man. Phillies take game 1.
Oh, I thought you just dug the song, man.
Oh, come on. Well, that too, but that song's a classic. Like, come on. That it's a classic now. In my book, it's a classic. It's a Fandom Empire classic.
So as we get ready to dive into the cinematography, the first thing that comes to mind, man, is the hospital and the way it's shot. It makes it feel like you are there with them, and it's creepy as fuck and makes you never want to be left alone in a hospital at night again. Like, legitimately. It's maybe not so today because nowadays they're so bloody modern that it's hard to compare them to what they were back then. But man, it's just such an eerie feeling.
Dude, it is, again, man, it's eerie is probably the best way to put it. And for me, again, I said, like, when I go to hospitals now, it's one of the first things that jumps into my mind. Like, what if this hospital was empty right now? Like, man, but they did a phenomenal job as far as cinematography, man. The chase scene really sticks out to me as well. I love the shots in this movie. Like seeing Michael, throughout the movie on the security cameras. I thought that was a really cool shot. When Laurie is on the ground and she yells and Michael pops out outside and that red light is hitting his mask. Really, really phenomenal. So for cinematography, man, I really have no complaints. I don't think, again, for me, I did watch it in 4K, which does make it better. I don't think anything was out of this world. So for me, go ahead.
I never did get a chance to watch Halloween 4 in 4K before we got to review it. There's a lot of Halloween movies I haven't seen in 4K. I've seen the new ones in 4K, and I've seen 1978 in 4K, and I've now seen Halloween 2 in 4K. I mean this when I say it. So far, I think H2 is the best port over to 4K I've seen yet. I don't know if that's a Cundy thing, and the way he chose to shoot it, if it made it easier for them. Dean's a big physical media, 4K guy who could probably dive more into that. But I was absolutely in love with the look and the feel of this film. Um, it's really good, and like 4K holds up. It doesn't have that like awkward, look to it. And sometimes when you see an older film brought to 4K, it lacks in some areas. So, but yeah.
No, I'd agree with that 100%. I still haven't been able to see 4 or 6 in 4K. But I have seen 2 and obviously 1978 really, really done very well. So for me, cinematography is an 8.5.
Well, I'll ask now, what does everybody in the chat give the cinematography in this film? Because now's the time to comment in the comment section. For me, it's an 8.5 as well, dude. We have back-to-back scores that are the exact same.
Nice.
So
I love it.
8.5 for cinematography for me. Let's take a peek and see what the chat has said. I see some of them listed prior. Spooky's giving it a 10. 10 out of 10. 9 from Jesse. Ken's giving it a 10. Jim's giving it a 10. Linton's giving it a 10. Steven's giving it a 9. Melissa a 10. Mark a 9. Very, very high. Now I'm beginning to wonder if I went too low with an 8.5. Dean,
I think the same thing.
Dean also adds 4K is incredible. This means they did an amazing job restoring the original camera negatives and then cleaning up the whole thing frame by frame. Yeah, I was pleasantly surprised how good it looks.
I'll stick with 8.5, but I might want to go 9. That 4K is phenomenal.
It's too late. The damn
I know. I know, but I know you're right. You're totally right.
Excuse me while I take a 5-minute break from this show to refigure it, and 5 minutes becomes 20 minutes when I can't remember how to math at almost 11 p.m. at night.
No, you're good, dude. 8.5 is good. It's just a half a point.
Dean's giving it a 9.5. Heath is giving it a 10. Steve's giving it a 10. Wow, good stuff, everybody. The cinematography. You know what? I got to experience Dean Cundy have his take on Star Wars. I think it was earlier this year with Book of Boba Fett. I don't remember now. Not obviously the greatest Star Wars series or product ever. It's actually quite bad at times. But the Dean Cundy episodes in Book of Boba Fett, you go, oh yeah, no, this guy's another step up on the other guys that are doing this with this stuff. And Dean wanted to go work on the stagecraft technology that Lucasfilm had developed, and he wanted to see it for himself. And
nice.
he really, you could tell his episodes were shot better than the rest of the episodes in the series. So it was cool to have a little bit of a Halloween and Star Wars crossover there.
That is pretty cool.
I think Book of Boba Fett is trash. It was nice to see that. So, dude, we're flying through this, man. It's writing into, well, maybe not. We've already been at this.
I was about to say.
Writing and directing. Writing and directing, man. So obviously this takes place on the same night as Halloween 1978. Do you think that they went the right direction with the film? And how did you feel about the writing and the directing in this film?
Yeah, for me, I definitely think they went the right way. I said it in the beginning that it definitely feels like the same night. I love the fact that they went this route. You know, I don't know, having it on the same night. There's just something about that being able, and they pulled it off, in my opinion, in a really, really good way. So being able to pull that off really does pay dividends and pays off in the end, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So, I had no problems with the writing, no problems with the directing either. I'm not the biggest Dick Warlock fan, but I thought he did pretty good as Michael Myers in this movie. Not my favorite. Don't hate him. Again, thought he did pretty good. So again, for me, I have no problem with this, man. Like, this is one of this is going to be another solid category for me. And again, I like a lot of the angles that they put in this movie. I like, when the mom and the kid goes inside, or I'm sorry, I think it's the nurse, I believe, and Michael pops in, the mirror. Again, I love the shots on the security camera. I love when Jimmy's there talking and Michael is behind the curtain in the room. I love when Karen is sitting there talking to her boss, and Michael is in the room with the babies, and you see him in there, and the camera kind of pans a little bit as Michael kind of walks out the room and goes into another room. That right there, the shots that you're showing, everything is just phenomenal, man. So for me, I gave it another solid 8.5 out of 10.
Yeah, I got to be honest. I find the writing at times in this movie shows that John Carpenter was, he wanted to get it done and was fed up. I don't know if the writing is the best in this movie. But since this is a combined category for us, writing and directing, again, I run into the issue of it's kind of like the tale of two tapes here, man. I'm not high on the writing, but I think the directing is really fucking good in this movie. Without the directing, you don't get shots like this, which we probably should have talked about in cinematography, but like these are epic, timeless shots that are just like, you want to talk about Michael Myers being a badass. The dude is walking through that and almost gets to Laurie.
True. And let me ask you this, Sean. Who signs up to get in that fire suit and walk? Would you do it? I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, no. I mean, today,
no.
With how technology is, but
back then,
not a chance. I want to be paid a lot more money than what he got paid. It's about Dick Warlock too. I don't mind his Michael Myers, man, but I do have a hard time connecting him to Nick Castle's Michael Myers. I do think when you break it all down, to me, it feels like two different characters at times, even though it's supposed to be one and the same. But to praise Dick Warlock, he is one creepy mother canucker in Halloween 3. Anytime that guy's on set, on screen in Halloween 3, it's just like, oh God, there's Dick Warlock. Oh God, he's gonna drill that lady.
I'll say this though, Sean. Rosenthal did a phenomenal job in this movie. And I don't know what changed from this to Resurrection, because I don't think it's the same guy. There's just no way. There's one shot I like in Resurrection, and it's when Michael's in the tunnel and the flashlight hits his face. Other than that, man, I'm just not. Doesn't seem like the same guy to me.
Yeah, that's about as jarring as you can possibly get going. Yeah. The guy who did Halloween 2, which is widely loved by many, is also the guy that did Halloween Resurrection. Like, my God, it was a fall far from grace. Let's just say that. You gave it an 8.5, you said, man?
Yes, sir.
Wait, did I just give away your score, or did you already say it?
Already said it.
Okay. Writing and directing for me is a point less than you. It's a 7.5. Which, I think that's solid. It's hard to complain too much about that. But that brings us to our final scorecard category. There's still a couple more to get to before final scores. Sound and score. Dude, it would be wrong of me to not try to play this quickly without hopefully not getting demonetized, but you don't really need to know anything other than this. Now, that's a cover of the actual score itself, not the specific score, but Boy, the opening credits to Halloween 2, man, not only are eerie and creepy and legitimately kind of scared me as a kid. Um, the score, the synth is so fucking incredibly good, man. I could take the soundtrack to Halloween 2 and listen to it on, pardon me, the score for Halloween 2 and listen to it on repeat, dude. I absolutely love this score.
Dude, I love it as well, and I'm glad you brought that up. It's probably, um, I love John Carpenter's original Halloween theme. To me, there's nothing like it. But Sean, when I listen to the Halloween 2 theme, I get chills. And as a kid, when I first saw this, it scared the living shit out of me. I don't know exactly as a kid what about it did, and I still really don't know what about it to this day scared me so much because the original scared me. But this one like put fear, like it literally gives me chills. And then when I watched this movie the other night in 4K, I watched it with my surround sound, dude. Oh man, phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal, man. There's nothing that I can knock on it.
We're getting thrown under the bus. Apologies. Sorry. Legitimately super tired here, guys. We definitely would not mean to forget your score. So if anybody didn't get a score and read it now, we'll backtrack here for a second. It's also, by the way, just to clear the air here, if you're wondering why we might seem a little off our game, although I think it's been a pretty fucking good episode so far, and it seems like you guys in the chat are enjoying it because the audience retention has been fantastic
It
in this
has.
episode. And again, you guys are on fire in the chat. One of the reasons we made the Tuesday night change to the Overlook Drive-In was for you guys to get you more engaged and to be more focused on a couple of topics rather than 9 or 10 across different fandoms. This is some of the scores that came in for writing and directing, dude. We had an 8 from Steven, an 8.5 from Steve, an 8 for Mark, an 8 for Dean, and 9 for Ken, an 8 for Melissa, 9.5 for the Entertainment Wizard. Yeah, yeah, and people are already giving their scores for the score. Just hold on to those for a second. I won't be able to find them. They're going to continue to go anyway. But just so we're clear, they were the scores for writing and directing. The sound design in this movie, man, stands out to me. It's the
Yeah.
sound design in this movie. I don't know if it's because of the hospital setting or just more attention to detail. The sound design in Halloween 2 and the score in Halloween 2 trumps Halloween 1978, in my opinion.
I don't think you're off basis at all on that. I would agree.
Yeah. Now,
I mean,
what intro do you prefer? Do you prefer the Halloween 2, the synth intro, or do you prefer the classic Halloween intro?
I still have to go with classic.
Classic, yeah.
It's it's so tough for me to go against that, man. But God, this is I don't know. It's a good question. I'm glad you asked that. Like I could, I would say I could see it changing, but I don't see it changing, man. I think, man, and I can't believe I forgot those first shots that you brought up too, man. Really, really good shots, especially with Michael in the kitchen. I still think that is such a good shot of him.
Oh,
Anyways,
in the background.
yeah, really, really good shot. Yeah, I love that, dude. I love that so much. But yeah, man, I still prefer the 78 one, but this is a really close second for me. And again, this is the one that kind of struck a little bit more fear in me as a kid and still gives me goosebumps to this day, man. So uh yeah, man, I have to give this a 9.
A 9. Wow. Wow, a 9 for sound and score. I don't know why I'm saying wow, because it's also a 9 for me. We had score on 3 of 5 categories, which is remarkable. That hasn't happened yet.
Yeah.
So clear we feel pretty similar about this movie.
Yeah, and I feel like these past few man, is this gonna be higher than 4 for us? Score-wise?
We're about to find out. We're you're
Yeah,
about
we're
to find
close.
out.
We're close.
It is damn close. I'll say that. It is damn close. However, the question is, what did you, the live audience, and even if you're not watching live, if you're watching after the fact, comment It helps the video get shared around more. And by the way, please take a second, click the like button, guys. It doesn't take very long at all. There's like been 60 people in here, and at one point, I think 68, 32 likes. There's still more than 50 of you in here. Please take a second to head on over there and click that like button. It helps other people find the stream. No reason why those likes shouldn't be up over 40. I know it sounds like I'm fucking getting on you, but it helps other people find the product too. You can't just hog us for yourselves. We want to share the love. Anyways, let's get to what the chat had to say about sound design and score. It looks very, very positive from what I'm seeing early.
Yeah.
Melissa's giving it a perfect 10. Spooky is giving it a 10. Linton's giving it a 10. Heath is giving it a 9.5. Sorry, Heath changed it to 10. He's like, fuck that. I'm going up to 10. You guys might not be able to change your score, but I can change mine. Fuck you. I'm going to 10. Entertainment Wizard gives it a 10. Steve gives it a 10. Jim gives it a 10. Mark gives it a 10. Ken gives it a 10. Steven gives it a 10. Mike, I'm beginning to think we scored this one wrong.
I think so, man.
At least the audience thinks so.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Whole point.
Before we get into our best kill in this movie and who our MVP is, let's take actually no, we'll do that first. We'll get into those and then we'll take a look at our scores. So first up, man, the best kill. Poor Lou at the end. No. Almost sounds like
poor guy.
Start bawling. Oh man.
I'll start off with the kill on this one and let you go for best performance next. For me, there's two that really stand out. But I'm gonna have to go with Nurse Karen, and it's not for the reasons that Dean thinks it's for. So I have to go with the hot tub scene. I mean, literally, that woman had the skin burnt off her face. Like, I watched it the other night, and especially in 4K. Oh man, you were getting drowned, and you were getting the skin burned off of your face. That's a hell of a way to go out. So for me, Sean, I just think about how I wouldn't want to go out when I think of these kills. And it has to be that one. Honorable mention was going to be Michael's iconic kill when he stabs the nurse in the back, lifts her up off the ground, and the shoes fall off, and then that chase music kicks in. Ah, man, that's really good too. That was a close second, but again, I would have to go with getting this drowning and getting the skin burned off. I don't know which one happened first, but either way, she got fucked up. You're on mute, my guy.
All right. Bound to happen. That was actually the second time. So let me ask you a question. Because of the way that, like, my favorite timeline's 1, 2, 4, 5, 6. That's just my favorite timeline. Even though 5's in it, that's my favorite timeline. So for me, it's hard to look at Halloween 2 and go, Michael Myers dies. Because in my favorite timeline, he technically doesn't. But if you view this the way it was originally supposed to be filmed, to me, it's Michael Myers. The dude is walking. He gets both eyes shot and gets lit on fire. Not just like a little bit. Like, that dude is full on. I just, put my breakfast burrito in the microwave for 12 minutes.
And you're running into the problem that I had with H2O, with my kill being Michael Myers. The next movie kind of fucked that over. And I'm not saying 4 fucked it over because I love 4, but yeah, same incidents. Yeah.
So if Michael was allowed, I'd be going with Michael. But if the audience doesn't think Michael's allowed, then I'm going with Ben Tramer, because even though it's not like a big kill, boy, the way that he gets run, like, that's graphic for 1981.
That cop hit the hell out of him.
Oh, he had a vendetta. Fucking Ben was probably sleeping with his wife or something. Fuck. My God.
Hard for me to believe that the cop didn't see that in enough time to swerve.
Right?
Honestly, kind of looks like to me he sped up a bit, but whatever.
Fuck this guy. But yeah, Ben Tramer. Then I give it to Ben Tramer. Either way, they both involved fire.
I always thought it was funny that Loomis thought that was Myers, that Michael Myers was carrying around a trick or treat bag.
Oh, poor Dr. Loomis.
He was going through it though. He was going through it. You let him out. Everybody blaming him like he told everybody.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, poor Loomis. Poor Loomis. It's so crazy because when I went and saw Halloween '78 in the theater, man, Loomis, even though he's playing an older guy, he looks so young. He looks really good, really good in that movie. Man, and then I watched 6. I fell asleep. I'm one of those people that falls asleep to horror movies. I was watching 6 last night. Man, and it just sucks when you hear him talk and he's just really struggling to talk, man. It's so depressing. And obviously we know what happens shortly after or during. Honestly, I can't even remember. During. So super, super sad for that, man.
Producer's cut, man. You got to get that producer's cut. There's more Loomis in it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. But there's a reason I'm not a fan. And hopefully...
Oh, I thought you hadn't seen it yet.
What? No, I've seen it. I just don't own it.
Oh, so you prefer the theatrical cut over the producer's cut?
Oh, my main reason is because they cut out a lot of the kills that I really enjoy, and then the basement chase scene. That's the only reason. We want to talk about endings. I'm with you.
All right, that's fair. That's fair. But it's time to talk about our MVP of this episode of The Overlook. Mike, on the count, so we're going to go 1, 2, 3, say it. We have not planned this out, and I want to see if we say the same thing.
I'm going to say Jimmy. But all right, let's go ahead. Go ahead.
1, 2, 3, Loomis.
Loomis.
We fucked that up. But yeah, Loomis, definitely Loomis. He carries this movie. Basically after 1978, he carries the fucking franchise. He puts it on his back and carries it. You know, it's terrible to say, but basically all the way to his deathbed, sadly, as Mike just pointed out. But Loomis is the MVP of this movie. Let me ask the audience, though, not only what is your favorite kill in the movie, but who is your MVP in this movie? Comment below now. Loomis is, I'm not going to say he's a superhero, man, but the way he comes in at the end and takes charge, it's definitely a real hero moment for the movie. What did you think when he finally gets there? It's like, to me, all movies like, come on, Loomis, come on, get there. And he finally does get there.
Yeah, and it was just, I was doing a lot of what you were doing in this movie because I'm like, especially when they get to the hospital, I'm like, Lori, just fucking scream. And then, of course, she screams when he shuts the door, and I'm like, oh, shit. And then you see Michael pop out, and then you see Loomis inside the hospital run towards the door, and then, you know, yeah, man, I mean, it sucks. I didn't like it because, one, I thought Loomis got bullied and blamed into not only, I feel like, creating this monster, but letting him out, especially, and when that was not the case. And he ended up, you know, risking his own life, getting burned, you know, to end Michael Myers. You know what I mean? And yeah, very heroic. It sucked that it happened to him. You know, I wish somebody else could have done it and got thrown in there, somebody that deserved it. But yeah, man, definitely the MVP of this movie. There's really no question about it. Again, I was going to throw Jimmy in there. Just fucking with you. I think it's so wild. I'm not gonna lie, this movie did terrify me, but I do kind of laugh when Jimmy gets back in the car with Lori and he's like, I think and then just passes out. So does Jimmy die? Does anybody know, does Jimmy officially die?
He wakes up in the ambulance in the alternate ending.
Oh yeah, you're right. That is true. 100%. You're right. So,
Mark Downs says Gary Hunt is the MVP, and we know Mr. Hunt was supposed to be involved in that Halloween Returns movie that never got made. I got to tell you, man, after 2018, I never thought about wanting the Returns movie. After Halloween Kills, I never thought about wanting the Returns movie even. But now I sit here and go, I wonder what would have happened if they went that way. So, but I feel confident saying they won't be going that way, regardless of what the direction is next. Ken says Loomis, as does Steve, as does Dean, as does Linton. Toronto Freddy says no fucking love for Mr. Garrett. Definitely Loomis, says Melissa. Dean says this is where I got the I shot him 6 times. Heath says Loomis. Toronto Freddy says Loomis. Jesse says Loomis. I don't think we got this one wrong, Mike.
Thank God.
Says Loomis. Melissa says the best kill was the hot tub. Same with Linton. Jimmy says I don't know where he's going with that one. The MVP is Mr. Elrod's ham sandwich. Running out of horns.
Do you want mustard or mayonnaise?
Mark says, Bish, Jimmy would buy you a Coke.
Oh, man, that's a good guy. I mean, think about it. Lori definitely had to be thirsty. Nobody offered her a drink. I saw no cup sitting beside her bed frame or beside her bed. And Jimmy came in there and asked that woman, did she want an ice cold Coke? I mean, what a good guy. What a good guy. What a really good guy.
Clumsy motherfucker.
Hell of a way to go out. I mean, probably one of the dumbest kills I've ever seen in my life because he killed himself. But
yeah, I mean, if he died, I mean,
he
wakes up in the ambulance. But big thanks for coming out tonight, fellas, guys and gals, that is, and participating in the scores. But now it's time for us to reveal our final scores. So if you have been playing along with the scores, we want to get your percentages, not the scores out of 50, your percentages. How do you do that? You take the score that you had, you divide it by 50 and times it by 100, and it will give you the percent. This was math class with the Overlook Drive-In. All right, let's
I'm already lost.
Story and pacing for Sean was a 7, for Mike was a 9. Acting was an 8 for me. Acting was an 8 for Mike. The cinematography, 8.5s a piece. Writing and directing was a 7.5 for me and 8.5 for Mike. And sound and score was 9, which the audience said, fuck you guys, we're all giving it a 10. So, quite literally, that happened. Which brings our scores, Mike, to 80 and 86% respectively, which gives you a final score, or percentages anyway. Story and pacing's an 80%, acting's an 80%, cinematography's 5, writing and directing is an 80, and sound and score is a 90, bringing our final score for Halloween 2 from 1981 to an 83%. That is a 0.5% off of our Halloween 4 score, which ended up being 83.5, which is funny because the thing I hear people argue about the most with what's the best sequel to the original Halloween movie, the two movies I hear come up the most are H2 and H4. So isn't it convenient that our scores, Mike, were 83.5 for Halloween 4?
Yeah.
83 for Halloween 2. Does any of this surprise you?
No, not at all. For me, Halloween 2 is number 2 in the franchise for me. And then Halloween 4 comes in at number 3. Very, very close. And then H2O is very close as well for me personally. Sean, did we give H2O an 83 last week? Do you remember what that score was?
I can pull it up here. It's going to take a second. So maybe
you're fine.
Maybe tell, because we're getting ready for the intros, outros here in just a second. Maybe tell people where they can find Take One next week.
Yeah, absolutely. So I have a really, really good roundhouse of people. It's going to be 6 people on the podcast, including myself. We are recording tomorrow night, and it will be out Thursday at 9 a.m. Episode 26 of the Take One podcast is all about Halloween Ends. We're going to jump into our likes, our dislikes, favorite kills, all of that stuff. real deep dive into it. Sean is going to be on there as well. So make sure you tune in. That will be released this Thursday on Spotify and on Apple. Really excited for that.
Halloween H2O got a 77.5% from us last week. So we have Halloween 4 at 83.5, Halloween 2 at 83, and Halloween H2O at 77.5, which, to be honest, is higher than I thought that movie was going to get. But really appreciate everybody coming out tonight and supporting us. I know it was a long one. The further we get away from Halloween ends, though, like even next week's episode, I guarantee you it won't be as long, but the amount of content we've had to pump out at the channel lately with this movie being out, and there's still a lot to go with making the shape as well. So we want to try to keep episodes to 2 hours or less, ideally probably closer to 100 to 110 minutes. But this was fun tonight, man. I appreciate you joining me on this journey.
Yes, sir. Appreciate everybody tuning in. Super fun. I see a lot of people in the chat saying that they enjoyed the show. Heath, shout out to you, man. Appreciate that a lot. Appreciate everybody tuning in and being interactive. I'm glad this is something that y'all participate in each week. That's the most fun part for me, is interacting with you all and seeing what scores y'all give it. Basically telling me and Sean to go to hell because the score was 10 out of 10.
Oh, yeah. They told us to get the hell out of here with our sound design and scorecard ranking. Yeah, you guys make this show possible. We're sticking with Halloween till probably midway through November. But then we're going to get into a bunch of other movies. Most of it will be horror, but now and then we'll, sort of trickle outside of horror here and there. But we're going to stay focused on horror for the most part for the Overlook Drive-In. And again, though, we might do the Dark Knight trilogy at some point, or we might do the Batman, although there's certainly elements of horror there. Yeah, so make sure you come up to those too. And there'll always be some sort of Halloween discussion involved, as long as we keep coinciding making the shape alongside the Overlook Drive-In, which, by the way, there's a video up on the channel right now, Making the Shape. It's the first one. We dive into the alternate fate of Laurie Strode. You can also check out House of the Empire over on our YouTube channel. Episode 9 is in the books for Game of Thrones House of the Dragon. We give our full spoiler review over there. You can check our Winchester's review out tomorrow. And if you want to support the channel on another level, you can do so at Patreon, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. There's some perks available over there now that are dedicated to this show that I think you might enjoy. Again, patreon.com/Fandom Empire. The first episode of the Overlook Drive-In's Gold Room, which is basically exactly the formula you see tonight with no lead-in. We just do the movie. So the episodes will be a little bit shorter, but it's going to be Halloween 5, and Kieran will be joining us for that one. So be on the lookout for that. You got to be a Patreon member, and the tier is the Overlook Drive-In Gold Room. So greatly appreciate the support over there. We got $5 tier, $10 tier, a $13 tier, $20 tier, and then the executive producer tier. I apologize for no Patreon graphic being ready tonight with the names, because the truth is, instead of just doing the pictures like we've done for years, the new Patreon thing is a video, and it's taken a little bit of time to put together, but you'll appreciate it next week when we debut it, because it's definitely more of a tip of the hat to people out there. But yeah, check out the Overlook Drive-In Gold Room if you want more Overlook stuff, or if you really want more Overlook stuff, you can check out the Overlook Drive-In Honeymoon Suite. We appreciate all the support. And if you can't support us on a financial level, that's fine too. We understand how the economy works, and you might have better things to spend your money on, just click the like button, leave a comment, let us know what you thought, subscribe, all that good shit. For Mike, for the chat mods, Toronto Freddy, Jade, Dean Renner, Matt Whitfield, and everybody else at the channel, thanks. It was a bunch of fun, and stay the hell out of room 237. Mr. Grady's not nice. Don't let him fool you. He does have cookies, but he's not nice. Good night, everybody.